Welcome to Lesson 11, Using Effects and Transparency. In this video, we're going to follow relatively the same lesson that you have in the book, just changing it up a little bit to show you some other interesting things that you can take advantage of. First of all, I'm selecting this little shape up here, and then I'm going to Window, Appearance, to open the Appearance panel, and I'm dragging it out. What I want you to notice, first of all, is that I can change the stroke and the fill here. I can click right on the stroke and change it to a more appealing color, a blue maybe rather than the yellow, and then I can also change the fill. Now the other interesting thing is that I can select these separately. So you'll notice that I can click on the stroke and then I can either go to Add New Effect down at the bottom of the Appearance panel or go to the Effect menu item at the top. I'm going to use the button in the Appearance panel, and I'm going to select that I want to stylize and scribble just the stroke. Now you'll notice that when I come in here and turn on the preview, only my stroke is being scribbled. I'm going to go ahead and make some changes to this. I'm putting in -30, and I'm putting in that I want it to have a 7 pixel overlap, maybe just a variation of 4. Stroke width a little bit thicker at 5. I'm going all the way down to spacing, and you can change whatever you want in here. I'm just making edits, just experimenting with different effects. When I click OK though, and then zoom in, so I'm just going to press Control plus, or maybe even take my zoom tool and click and drag, whichever is easiest for you. You'll notice that underneath there, that shape or the fill is still there. I just applied this to the stroke. Now notice that I can also have the stroke selected, and if I turn down that arrow, which you can see it is already turned down, I can also click on opacity and change the opacity of just the stroke, not affecting the fill. I'm opening this window so you can see it a little bit better. I can also just click to turn off or on that scribble effect. So these are dynamic changes that I can turn off and on, and even click like a hyperlink onto, like for instance when I click on scribble, and then make additional changes. So by using effects, you can experiment a little bit more with your illustrations and try to create special effects that you can turn off or on or change dynamically. Now another thing, once I've done this and I've created this special effect, maybe I want to save it and use it again. When you create any combination of items in the appearance, and that could be that we've applied scribble to the stroke and nothing to the fill and change the opacity, whatever it may be, you can save it as a graphic style. So you'll notice that graphic styles is open. It typically opens when you have the appearance panel open. You'll see that I have graphic styles already in here. I can click and drag this thumbnail right over into my graphic styles panel to save that as a style so that I can click on another item. So I'll just press Control or Command 0 and zoom out, click on this item, and then click on that style to apply the exact same style to another item. Now the great thing about this is that you can experiment with many items in your appearance panel. I can take that stroke and I can click on duplicate it. So now I have 2 strokes on this guy. I might want to change the size of this and drag it up on top of the other stroke and then change the color. So I'll make it green, and then I'll also change the opacity back up to 100%. So hopefully you're following what I'm doing. I duplicated a stroke and I put it on top of another one in the same stacking order. So the green stroke is on top, it's a little smaller, and then I have the blue stroke. If I zoom in, you'll see it looks like this. This is how you create effects like neon and other items, because you can just keep duplicating your strokes. And maybe in this case, I'll just do something crazy like make it white, and then go to Add Effect, and select that this time I want to use blur, Gaussian blur, blur that just a bit, and click OK. Again, I can save this as a new style by just having it selected and clicking on New in the graphic styles. Or I can do this. I'm pressing Control-0 to see everything. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this shape 2 more times. I'm going to edit one of these shapes. So I have it selected right here. I'm going to change this color to purple. All right, now I want these other 2 instances replaced with this one. Instead of creating a new style, I can also hold down my Alt or Option key and drag it on top of an existing style and update all instances of those graphic styles. So think about it. When you're working in Illustrator, even something as simple as a dashed line, I create a dash and I decide that in this dash, by going to the stroke panel, I want to make sure, show options, that I have a dashed line that starts out with a big dash and then maybe has a smaller dash and maybe even has a rounded edge on it and it's a little bit thicker. So I'm using this dash throughout my illustration. Maybe it's pointing at things, whatever it may be. I've got that dash used many times. I can save that as a graphic style. I can make sure that all future instances and existing instances are using that graphic style. Now, as I build this, and I'm using, again, that style, it looks like it has a little fill there. That's okay, we'll go with that. Now, if I come back to this and I decide, oh, I don't want that fill in there, I can make a change on this one selected item. I can take the fill and say no fill. Make sure I select my selection tool, hold down my Option or Alt key and drag it down to that style and replace all instances. Somebody comes back and says that dotted line isn't correct, we need it spaced out more. I can go back, select one of these items, go to stroke. Maybe I want to put a bigger space in there. Great. I hold down my Alt or Option key, drag it down again on top of that existing style. Again, all are updated. Now, keep this in mind. This also affects things like opacity. So you can save different opacity levels, different effects, all in a graphic style. So in this lesson, you learned about opacity and graphic styles and taking advantage of your appearance panel.